Okay, welcome back. So now we're gonna go ahead and begin modifying our app component.ts file. So the very first thing that we're going to do, the very first thing that you're gonna notice that it's different is this part here. So we've imported account from account.model, and we have created it in our previous tutorial. Yep, yep, there we go. So export class account, and as you can see, we have actually fully constructed this class. It has some variables. I don't know. It has ID, title, description, balance, and then it has a constructor down below. If some of you come from some other programming languages, you might have noticed that there isn't an actual name of the constructor here. Usually it would be like this, count. So the name of the class and the name of the constructor are the same. However, this is not the case in Angular. This is not the case with TypeScript anyway. So we will call this constructor with the name of the class anyway, but we won't type in the name of the class here where the constructor is. And quite frankly, for one constructor, I don't think, well, I mean, for the constructor, there really isn't any point to have a name, in all honesty, as the name of the class is always the same as the name of the constructor anyway. So it doesn't really matter if you don't place a name here. Just call the name of the class, just call it through the name of the class. What I, what I mean, I will show later on when we actually get to that part, but for the time being, I just wanted to elaborate on the import. So this part here remains the same. We still need the template. And then we go down into the app component class and we have a look around. So the very first thing is the private variables. And there is a naming convention for private variables. You place an underline in front of the name in order for you to, in order for, well, I mean, it doesn't make any difference to the machine, you can know that, but it does make a difference to a human being when somebody else reads your code. So if this particular variable is used anywhere else down the line in the code, if it has an underline in front of it, whosoever reads the code will know that this is a private variable based on this naming convention, which is an underline in front of the name of the property. Sorry, they're called properties apparently, not variables. It's very funny how like different programming languages have different names for exactly the same things for some strange reason, but oh well. They're actually called properties here. So, private property accounts is of type array, and this says an array as you can see down below, and all of the array members will be of type account. So we have created a account here, class account. This is similar to the interface which we have done in the previous tutorials. So it has ID, and ID is 1, so we're just initializing it here, no big deal. ID is going to be 1, title is going to be bank XYZ, and description is going to some default description that we're placing here will be this is my main bank account, and then down below balance will be 501.2 for some strange reason. It doesn't we didn't place a whole number here, we didn't place an integer, it had to be a floating point. But in any case, they have to match these things. So it says ID, title, description, balance. And here it says ID, title, description, balance. Because we have specified that the elements will be of type account. Anyway, we move on down below immediately. So this is a classic array. There isn't really much to say about it. If you don't know what arrays are, they're basically, well, here's a simpler representation of an array. Let me just write some pseudocode without actually being able to apply it. Let me just go ahead and write it and show you. So this is a much simpler representation of an array. If I type in, so some sort of an integer array, and I say that this integer array shall be called number, I can say that that this shall be equal to, and then it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. This is not the TypeScript syntax. This is just something that I'm typing in to actually demonstrate what an array is. So if you have an array number, the array number has elements 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each one of these elements has its own index. So the very first element of the array has an index of 0. The second element of the array has the index of 1, because the indexing usually starts from 0, although this is not a general rule for all programming languages. So if I number, okay, so something like this would be, if so, this is the element 0. Element 0 is 1. If I typed in, I don't know, element 2, this would be element 0, this would be element 1, and this would be element with an index of 2, and so on and so forth. So this is how an array looks like in general, not in particular in TypeScript. But arrays can be made up of a lot of things. And here we're making a private variable called accounts of type array whose elements will be of type account. We have made account here, and we have defined what it can contain, and now we're going to be utilizing that pattern here as well. Down below, it's a simple, what we're doing here is pretty much the same thing that we're doing here, except using different values. So this is one way to initialize all of these parameters, but there is also another way to initialize them. You can use a constructor here. So it says public constructor, and it takes arguments just the same as a method does, and you pass these arguments, and then it does something with these arguments. Usually it performs an initialization procedure, so it initializes them. And that is exactly what we're doing here. We're calling the constructor, so new account. You call the constructor in this fashion. You type in the keyword new, and then you type in the account, then you type in the model name, basically. The class name, sorry. You have the class name account, and then you state new account, which is the class name, and then you pass one argument after another. As you can see, it says ID number. Okay, we have a number here, I don't know, it's 2, and then you have a title, and then you have a description, and then you have a balance. So for some strange reason, this one is going to have a bigger balance than this one. But it doesn't matter. These are just two ways of doing pretty much the same thing, and that is to perform initialization. If you don't know what this is, or these things here, or this entire class, go back to the previous tutorial. I have explained it there. Anyway, so down below, we're going to go ahead and define our private variable next ID. And next ID is going to be equal to 3. Why is this so? I will explain in the follow-up tutorial, but for now, I just want you to basically take it for what it is and write it there. Now, we will need next ID as the next identifier, so to say. Why is it 3? That's going to come up soon enough. But down below, this is far more important for you. So private, create account. So here, we're going to go ahead and create accounts. This method shall be used in order for us to create new accounts. Here, let me just sort it out a little bit. There we go. So now you can see that there's a private method, and you have some parameters that are to be passed to it here, here, and here, and then down below there is a certain logic. Now we will be calling this method from a template, and each call of this method will create a new account. Also, we would like this method to clean up the input fields upon successful entry, and that is the primary reason we're sending HTML elements to this method. Now I'm running a little bit short on time, so I'm going to go ahead and continue in the follow-up tutorial where we'll get to the bottom of this file.